You can't have talk about the NBA draft without a little pre-draft buzz. The latest report, what is this? Sources told our Mark Stein that the Lakers are actively pursuing trade scenarios to construct a deal that would convince the Kings to give up DeMarcus Cousins in a trade. The Kings are publicly insisting Cousins is not available, but according to Yahoo Sports, Kings coach George Karl has intense desire to trade the All-Star center with a growing belief that the coach-player relationship is irreparable. What is this, Coach Karl? Not perhaps wanting DeMarcus Cousins. How do you feel about this? Go ahead.
Well, that didn't take long. George Karl got there. Right. And DeMarcus Cousins, although, by the way, anybody that can tweet emojis using Jay-Z's Blueprint 2 saying when the grass is cut, the snakes are going to be there. Anybody that can use that, DeMarcus Cousins, you have me at hello, brother.
Little shout out.
He is a perfect fit for any team. This guy last year averaged over 24 points per game, over 12 rebounds, over 3 assists. And don't give me the whole, well, he's being selfish. He re-upped in Sacramento, signed an extension back in 2013 for 4 years and $62 million, and donated $1 million of that for charities in Sacramento. DeMarcus Cousins, if that guy is on the market, I know he has trust issues. You know what? Find a way to make that guy trust you and alleviate his concerns, because that boy can ball. Give me a guy like that. If I'm the Lakers, if I'm the Clippers, if I'm the Knicks, if I'm a team in China, if that guy's available, give me that guy that can bring that kind of production, and I know a guy that's going to play hard pretty much every night.
Even the guy, go ahead.
Even the guy that was suspended in 2012 and yet is still in the top 10 of most immature players. You still cool with that?
You know, I'm not giving a pass on that.
If the numbers outdo the behavior, cool. But
I'm not giving him a pass on that. But we don't know the inner workings of that situation in Sacramento, what the dynamic could have been between a coach and a player. I know if I'm DeMarcus Cousins and you bring in George Karl, you say he's going to help me, and then all of a sudden he's hell bent on getting rid of you. I'm not trusting anything that you tell me anyway. So he does have immaturity issues. I'm not going to bypass that, and nobody should. But if you bring a guy in like that, and you let him know, you have our trust. And if he feels that, if he can do that and not trust people, what is he going to do if he's going to trust people?
What is DeMarcus Cousins trying to say with that tweet, first of all, that we saw with the snake in the grass?
Well, for somebody who's from New York, I wish he would tweet another Jay-Z line, Empire State of Mind.
Hey, man.
Knicks fans would be happy with that.
I would be as a Knicks fan.
I love both George Karl and DeMarcus Cousins, but you kind of saw that this could be doomed from the start, because they're both guys that let the emotions get the best of them. And now look, George Karl, he loves offense, right? If he can't make it work with DeMarcus Cousins, it's just not going to work out. And I just spoke to a general manager about half an hour ago. He said there definitely is truth to this, that George Karl is looking to trade DeMarcus Cousins. But Vlade Divac now is running the general manager's office up in Sacramento. He does not want to trade DeMarcus Cousins, but you better know people around the league are looking into trying to get DeMarcus Cousins, because it appears George Karl and DeMarcus Cousins are already off to a bad start, and that's not going to work out.
And what part of this do you feel like Cousins is playing into this? Because the Yahoo report said that he has a firm loyalty to the previous coach, Michael Malone. So how hard-headed do you feel like Cousins might be being in this situation?
He's going to get even more hard-headed now with George Karl saying what he's saying, coming out and acting like that. And that goes to your point. When you bring a guy in and say, look, we're going to bring someone that you know you can count on and trust, and that dude does what is apparently like stabbing you in the back. Now every time you're going to look at that coach, you're going to be like, yeah, you ain't got my best interest in
there already seems to be distrust. I mean, the general manager I talked to said basically George Karl is like, if I can't make this guy who is moody and known as a moody player happy with my offense, this is just not going to work out. If there's already distrust from the coach, and then of course you know what DeMarcus is tweeting out there.
Absolutely.
And we're in June. You know what I mean? So perhaps the trade talks will heat up on Thursday, because usually a guy like DeMarcus Cousins, if he is indeed going to be on the trading block, things are going to heat up Thursday. They're going to heat up in the summertime. So the Kings should wait, though, to see what they can get for DeMarcus Cousins. But I'm sure if I'm Phil Jackson, hey, do you guys want that number 4 pick?
If I'm Vlade Divac, I'm calling George Karl. Man, be quiet. You don't get to make the personnel decisions on this team.
But do you like this, though? Because let's talk about the draft aspect of this. If you're the Lakers, I mean, actually, both players, 6'11", 270 pounds. So who do you prefer in this situation? The upside, I mean, obviously, DeMarcus Cousins is not too old, but what would you do in this scenario if you had the GM hat on your head?
If I'm the Lakers, I'd take DeMarcus Cousins over Jahlil Okafor.
Yes.
I'd definitely take DeMarcus. I mean, the kid is still young. He can score. And say what you want to say about how emotional he is, how moody he is. when he balls out, he balls out.
And you think he's going to have maturity issues with Kobe?
Kobe's only there for one more year.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. For that 1 year, Kobe's going to quell that quick.
Kobe wants his players to play hard. You know, that's
and
one
you
thing.
can't question that about DeMarcus.
And that's the beauty. That's where you can change the difference between playing with high emotion and then playing over the edge with high emotion. And I think Kobe would help him differentiate the two.
So if you're the Kings, how much do you need? How much do you need to make this thing happen, to convince you to do it happen? Because obviously right now, publicly, they're insisting they're not doing it.
Well, apparently they need a psychologist. They get George Karl and DeMarcus Cousins in the room.
Or Oprah, right.
Because I'm a big George Karl fan as a coach, but he is very stubborn and bullheaded. That can be a blessing, and that can be a curse. Now he's meeting a basketball equivalent. I'm sure Carmelo Anthony is somewhere going, hey, DeMarcus, I would do the same thing in Denver. Everybody said that I was the main problem.
Carmelo's tweet. I told you so.
I'm doing that. You know, Gary Payton has even said, yeah, I love George Karl as a coach, but there are plenty of times that we had our situations that he's in the Hall of Fame.
NBA coach of the year?
Well, yeah, former NBA coach. Now, he got railroaded out of Denver. I don't know what happened there. Personality conflict, whatever that was.
Won a lot of games. I was there.
He got railroaded out of Denver, but in a situation like this didn't take long at all for George Karl to look at DeMarcus Cousins and say, well, I can't make it work with him, and that's going to be the end of that.
Disrespecting, I mean, for it to happen so quickly, like what must have happened to make that fissure happen so strongly and so quickly?
That's a really good question. I mean, we don't know. When you get human dynamics involved, you may think you can put two people together and it's going to work, and then within 2 minutes you say to yourself, well, that's a bad idea right there. So I don't know the inner workings of that, but what I do know is what's been put in front of us, and that is apparently a guy that was second team All-NBA. It's hard to make an All-NBA team when your team stinks. Right. This guy was second team All-NBA, and nobody questioned that guy should have been first team, as good as he was, and yet you're looking to push him out of there because of personality conflict.
And look, we're not talking about a first-year coach like David Blatt, and he's not getting respect from a guy like LeBron. We're talking about George Karl, who comes with his own resume. He comes with results, and if he's not getting along with DeMarcus Cousins already, it's just not going to work out.
Yep. The thing is, he also comes with baggage. That's the thing with George Karl. He comes with baggage. At least
have baggage.
This is very true.
Yeah. But he also comes with a resume with more credentials, which just kind of illuminates what you were saying, maybe not deferring so much because he knows what he brings to the table.
Adapt or perish. Seriously. I mean, it's a cliche, but it's true. If you're George Karl, if you're not going to adapt, then your team is going to perish. If you're DeMarcus Cousins, if you get traded, you're going to have to learn to adapt to it at a certain point. I think DeMarcus, to your point, looks at, I was here before you got here. They brought you in to help me, not the other way around. So why are you trying to make a better effort to try to make this work?
DeMarcus is the guy who's young enough that you can still mold. George Karl, you look at him and you go, that's an old guy who's stuck in his ways. He's the one, I eat at 4:30 every day, and you ain't going to tell me we eating at 5.
Well, obviously, George and DeMarcus not getting along. These two guys don't have that problem. Jordan Spieth and Rory McIlroy have both said they are the best in the world, but only one can be the top dog. We'll talk about a potential rivalry brewing. That is next. Well, according to the Sydney Morning Herald, the life of Matthew Dellavedova is being turned into a Hollywood movie. It will be a fictional story based on his rise and will follow the 3 young Australian basketball players drafted to play basketball for a U.S. college. And I have to know, what is your reaction? I thought we were done with Delly, but he is now on the big screen, or at least coming to a theater near you.
A better movie for me would be you, Albany's Peter Hooley. I mean, you lose your mother to cancer during the season. You come back, hit the game-winning shot to put your team in the NCAA tournament. Nothing against Dellavedova, but that story ended the 4th quarter of Game 4 when he went back into the phone booth, and he wasn't in Steph Curry's head. I wasn't buying that. So I'm sure it's people love underdog stories. The Peter Hooley underdog story, that would be a better one than Matthew Dellavedova.
Michael, what I want to know is, will you use your hard-earned money to go see a movie with Delly in it, or about Delly, I should say?
I ain't even watching the trailer for that movie.
Okay.
Which is why it's a fictional story. You know why? Because the real version doesn't have a happy ending. What's going to happen to Deli in the
Deli.
What are they going to do in the real movie? Like 30 minutes in, he could be cramping up.
Oh, Deli, I appreciate your hustle. We're going to at least get that out on the
Don't
debate.
punk up now because of what
We
he
appreciate
said.
his hustle. We just, not make it all
Does he have to have a cup of coffee before he does his movie, too?
Oh.
Wait, does the movie have a title? Because I know what Taj Gibson, Al Horford, and Draymond Green would call it. I still hate Matthew Dellavedova.
Yes, they do.
Who's going to play him? Jerry Ferrara, a Turtle from Entourage? Would he be a good one?
Turtle's my boy, though. He might actually play him pretty good. But the title of the movie could be Diving on You.
So what do you think will be the total earnings for this movie?
About 12. How much did the
Much
FIFA
more
movie
than the
make?
FIFA movie.
No, not that much more.
Yeah, it'd be much
not
more.
That much more.
Dellavedova was a better story than
Whatever.
FIFA.
He's got to give his mom free tickets. She'd be the only one paying.
The overachieving underdog, far better than corruption in FIFA.
I would go see Jurassic World a third time before I see that.
Well, guess what? You know who's earning a lot of money? Jameis Winston. He was asked in an interview with NFL.com who he most looks forward to being matched up against, and he said the player I'm most looking forward to play against, what's this, has to be probably J.J. Watt. Is this smart? You've been in the league 0.5 seconds, Ohm. Is this smart to say?
Why not? I like Jameis' swagger. You know what I mean? This is part of the reason why I'm going to watch Jameis this season. I just want to see how he's going to do against guys like this. He's a big guy, too. You know what I mean? I want to see J.J. Watt go up against him, try to bring down Jameis Winston, and see if Jameis can get out of that. I think it's going to be something. I hope Jameis doesn't end up being a disaster this year. That's one thing I don't want to see.
The beauty for Jameis Winston is if you're going to put billboard material up there, put it up in June. You know, that's the beauty. That's it. You want to know how smart Jameis Winston is? He's going to call somebody out in June because by the time they play, and they're already 3 games into the season, J.J. Watt's going to be like, hey, y'all, did he say something back in the, I don't remember.
Freddie, you think J.J. Watt would be forgetting this already?
Oh, hell no. He's not forgetting that. I mean, J.J. Watt, for my money, is the best player pound for pound in the National Football League. I'll take him what he does week in and week out. I know it's a quarterback-driven league. Give me that guy, and I'll take my chances. He's motivated just to practice. Not just games. He's motivated to practice. So something like this will catch his antenna. He's not going to forget about it. But, you know, if you're Jameis Winston, if you want to be the best, why not say, hey, if I'm going to be at that level, that's a guy that my team has to take down. It's not just about quarterback versus quarterback. It's about, man, I know J.J. Watt's coming for me. Go ahead and bring it. I'm not backing down. I'm not going to shrink from any kind of pressure you're going to put on me. So I'm not bothered by that. But I'll say this. If you're gonna fat mouth, can't be a slouch in the ring. So if you're Jameis Winston, you put that out there and you fat mouth about it, go out there and deliver. Because if you don't, it's going to be a lot worse for you than if anybody else has said that.
And here's the thing. He's not just saying this arbitrarily. The Bucs actually faced the Texans in Houston week 3, but you know J.J. Watt is also known for the pass deflection and getting his hand up in the passing lane. So
and he's gonna run it 50 yards for a touchdown.
Absolutely. So when the two of them face, how many sacks do you feel like J.J. Watt might get?
Ooh, I think J.J. Watt will get 2 sacks, and he could get a pick 6, and he'll probably score a touchdown catching his tight end too.
And I wanted to do the dance of the commercial. It takes 2 to make the. I wanted to do that. When he sacks him, I wanted to see that from the commercial.
Right.
And Caroline Wozniacki, they're dating. Rumors out there. She may be there. She may be doing the dance.
Let me tell you, I will say this about James. If you're going to call somebody out, you call out the best.
Yeah.
You know what?
Don't
if he
call
knocks
out,
down a
don't
couple
call
passes
scrubs.
and runs back a pick 6, and Jameis still gets the win.
They need something to talk about in Tampa.
Yeah, absolutely.
They absolutely need something to talk
absolutely.
about in Tampa.
Yeah, because remember that image, Jameis Winston playing when he's still in college with him slipping back like on a banana peel, and so J.J. Watt sees
You know
something
when
like
that
that.
first
It's
sack
over.
comes, he's going to be like, hey, can I get some crab legs?
Oh, please. Well, you know what?
Yeah, I went there. Yeah, I went there, so
stop
I went there.
Oh, we can't even leave the crab legs in the past. Now, this is your last day on the desk, so how'd you enjoy yourself talking to kettlebell guy over here and Puff Daddy's best boy over here?
When else on First Take have they ever talked about New Kids on the Block, Puff Daddy, and we can have some Rob Bass?
And the Rob Bass, exactly.
So you know what is our final ending theme song here?
What is it going to
No
be?
kettlebells?
No problem. So I can't even pick up this. But see, I need to.
Everybody wave and say goodbye. We appreciate you joining us. Come back tomorrow at 10.